Hey, it's it's Saturday in May. That's all I know. And yeah, okay. So the phrase, the term, and so it begins is probably overused, but it has really begun now. Like they predicted bankruptcies are starting to happen now in the whole of civilization due to the lockdown. The biggest one, I think, is just, and it's been announced that Bloomberg have said that Hertz Rent a Car has filed for bankruptcy because there's nobody renting their cars. So that's a company and thousands of jobs gone. A chain of Scottish resort hotels have announced that they're closed. They're gone. So that's hundreds of jobs in rural areas in Scotland where there isn't a lot of jobs to begin with. They're gone. And British Airways is looking like it's on the teetering on the brink of collapse. And next week and the week after and the following month, we will see colossal, massive bankruptcies, closing of companies, and unemployment rates going through the ceiling massively because, well, let's be honest, a few grannies wanted to live another few months, and a few hypochondriacs wanted to control the rest of us. And it suited the globalists fine because now they have the excuse to flatten the curve, of civilization. They'll get their low reduced carbon emissions that they've been wanting for so long, that they have a fetish for carbon. So they'll get that just because they've destroyed economic activity, and they will get the money from the middle class and transfer it back to the super wealthy. This is why the likes of Bill Gates is very heavily involved in all this. This is a transfer of wealth from the middle class, as there's far too many middle class who are making money, happy, contented, having good holidays, giving good lives to their kids. It's now time to that wealth belongs to the likes of Bill Gates and those kinds of people, and they're furious when they see all the middle class people with this money, and they say, well, that's money I don't have, because there's a finite amount of wealth on this planet, and people like Bill Gates want to own everything on this planet, and that's literally how they think, and all these other billionaires and globalists. So so there's a massive transfer now of wealth from the middle class to the super rich. This will this will be done in two ways. Firstly, through them losing their jobs and simply not having the financial clout that they once had. Secondly, they, in order to pay for the civil servant and the other heroes who have jobs for life, there will be now punitive, crushing taxes imposed on the middle class working families in the private sector in order to keep civil servants in their jobs for life, their big pensions, and their entitlements, or as the Irish Trade Union that refer to this as being a gravy. That's how they're your heroes. That's your heroes, by the way. Now, the the transfer of wealth from the private sector middle class up into the super wealthy now creates a third faction, which is ostensibly the Orwellian inner party, which will be made up of people who work for the government, civil servants, politicians, bureaucrats, firemen, yes, public sector trade union workers, in some cases, there'll be things like public transport workers, uh, things like that. There will be a collapse in the housing stock, but there'll be no one to buy them except these civil servants and other people who can now become slumlords, and because they'll have the money to buy houses and get mortgages, and so they will get wealthy. And the inner party, as members of the inner party, they will become more powerful. They're the ones, by the way, you will notice who do not want the lockdown to end because they're playing for the long term game of them killing the private sector worker and then raiding their assets like marauders from ancient times, hitting a town, killing the men, taking the women off and keeping everything in for themselves. Their civil servants and the public sector workers and bureaucrats are doing that using the COVID-19 thing. Now, the heroes. Now, that you're waving your rainbow flags for. Now, this doesn't affect the people on unemployment and the very poor, because they need them to point at so they can tell the middle class, oh look, if you're not careful, you'll end up like one of them in a council house. But the irony is, huge numbers of private homes will now be seized by the state all over the world, and they will take like the middle class family who's paying a mortgage on a €300,000 suburban house can't pay it anymore because, well, the company he works for doesn't exist anymore because of the lockdown. So what they'll do is the government will come in and say, well, you can stay in your house, but we'll take over the mortgage. It belongs to us now. And when you die, you can't leave it to your children or use it to pay for your health or anything like that. It's not your collateral anymore. It now belongs to public stock. And so ostensibly it's public housing. It's social housing. And but we'll let you stay in your place until you're dead, and then your kids will have to go and put their names on the housing list to see where they'll end up living. And so you can't build a legacy of being you can't build a legacy, which is what middle class families tend to want to do. So they tend to want to build legacies, so the next generation has it. That's how they became middle class. Working class people in the past decided they were going to build a legacy, and so on. Now that wealth is now transferred to the upper echelons of society, and again, it's because of a few grannies had to live another couple of months, and which are going to die anyway, and the hypochondriacs, they had to be serviced as well. And you know, one thing I've learned about society is that most men in the West, particularly here in Ireland, I'd say most men are cowards and pussies. There's no doubt about that. I have no respect for Irish men on the whole anymore. They're the biggest ones you see on the internet screaming, "Keep the lockdown going! Don't open up the country! Oh God! Oh God!" And I'm sure you see in other countries, but particularly in this country, that if you ever hear an Irishman talk about like the fighting Irish ever again, you remind him that during the COVID-19, the Irishman was the biggest pussy on the face of the earth. Now, because of a flu with a 99.99999 survival rate. Oh, did you ever think you'd see these days coming? Did you ever think you'd ever see these? But here we are. So, you know, there's not a lot we can do about this, except to look after ourselves on our own. There is no great, you know, we've been all ass raped by the man, and they've used the hype. They've used the sheeple, the normies, and the NPCs to do this to us. And remember, it's not just people who work in regular jobs. It's people who are in the entertainment business, who play in bands, do stand-up comedy, work in a cabaret, work as a theatre, work as an actor, a jobbing actor. The Globe Theatre in London now faces permanent closure because of the lockdown. And they continue to laugh and humiliate us, and the normies and the NPC continue to play along. They dance in their social distance square. I'm dancing, look, I'm in my social distance square. I'm a fucking moron. In Germany, Burger King is giving them cardboard sombreros that are the same width of the brim of the hat is the same width as the social distancing circle. Yeah, it's good. I eat my Whopper with hat. It's funny, but it's also, you know, like, yeah, it's I'm safety, health and safety. Oh God, oh my fucking Lord. You have to laugh or you go, yeah, it's good, I got a hat, big funny hat like Mexican, yeah. I eat my burger. It's quirky. It makes me look humiliated and makes me look degraded. But hey, it's cool. Like, you know, yeah, sorry, social distance. Did you ever think that we'd come to this? here we are. I saw a video of a neighbourhood, a working class neighbourhood in Dublin, where they're all dancing to some stupid song in their little social distance square. And you could physically taste the misery of them. You could taste the misery, and underneath the pretend dancing, you could taste the misery. It was palpable. It's funny, like I just mentioned there then that before this thing happened on my open source occult TV channel, I made a video called "Are the Cenobites Real?" And I was looking at a picture of Pinhead, and his head looks like the coronavirus. I will tear your soul apart. Yeah, but this is a show. This is how I see it. This is how you should see it. Don't let it get you upset. Because if it gets you upset, it gets worse. And I'm not saying that in a kind of like a way like, your tribe attracts your vibe attracts your tribe. I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying that fortitude, resilience, black humor is how you're doing deal with this, is how I'm dealing with it, is to just see the absurdity what it is and find people that are in the same mindset as you to help build a collective tribe to get out of this mess, which we will. We're already there. Vision yourself in the future doing okay. And it's their new normal. It's not your new normal, you know. But yeah, so like this is also serves the, you know, they've killed off the old people by moving them into elderly homes. So they sped up that process. They don't have to pay their pensions and their medical bills and stuff like that. Now they'll work on killing middle class males with suicide. This is the big one. This is the big one now, is suicide for middle class men. All these men who can't provide for their families, who are all been made frightened of a disease, like an invisible enemy that they can't fight, and they're holding out for the vaccine like it's the second coming of Christ. They will spiral sadly further and further into psychosis and mental illness, depression, despondency, until they decide that it's time to eliminate themselves. This is what will happen. This is what the establishment wants, and this means there's less bills to, you know, that's good. They don't have to pay the unemployment for them anymore, and this kind of thing. So that's so again, don't let them do this to you. You know, like, you know, as Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, fight Arjuna, fight. And let, you know, Normie's gone a norm, but you know, we've escaped that. You're watching this video because you're watching this video as someone who's already survived. You remember that we're in the life raft, because we know the rules of engagement, a term that I've used over and over again. Understand, know, acknowledge, and recognize the rules of engagement. And the rules of engagement are, people like Bill Gates wants all your money. He wants just kill off as many of you are burden upon the state, because ultimately it's his money that pays for the state, while portraying himself as the great altruistic benefactor for the human race by I don't know, paying for abortions in Africa, whatever he does. And that's because he, you know, he got, when he was a little white boy in his rich affluent ghetto, he used to see black people and get afraid. Mommy, there are black people in the neighborhood. I'm frightened. And that translates to him and his missus executing them, basically, with a birth control program in Africa. That's all that is. That's a racist psychiatric transfer. That's all that is. And also, he wants to kill off all the middle class males who built families and got women, because they were the ones in school who he didn't like, because they got the girls. It's like I've been telling you all along. It's the nerds who were the evil ones in the schools and colleges. It was the jocks who were the ones who were trying to save the world. They've totally put that one on its head. And it's like, he sat there in his class, one day I'm going to get you for getting getting the girl I can't get, even with my parents' millions. I can't get. That's all that's going on there. they transfer their psychological and personality issues to the bigger stage. And if they have this need to get back at people, that's what they do. Zuckerberg's another one like that. You can see he oozes that. In fact, that movie, The Social Media, even showed that that's what he's like, because some girl dumped him because he spoke to her like she was an idiot. You're a fool, aren't you? Yeah, these nerds used to talk to you like this. Oh, really? Yeah, well, oh, I guess so. You're not very bright like me. Yeah, that's who's running the show now, unfortunately. And we have a world that reflects that. And here in Ireland, they had some. They've actually suggested to have, still making the lockdown even worse now, a 15-day quarantine period if you want to visit Ireland. So they're absolutely determined to destroy the tourist industry here, determined to kill it. And also, there were some politicians had a plan to change a 2-meter distance rule to a 1-meter distance rule. Do you see how long this has been brewing for? My safe space. This is my safe space. You see how long this has been going on? Don't touch, don't come near me. Boundaries, proximities, you know. They've been working on these people's heads for a long time. And they test them with groups like radical feminists and things like that. Boundaries, I get my rape whistle out. And that's where they test these things with the SJWs and stuff like that. My free speech zone. And that became your social distance square or circle. And that's they test out these theories on lab rats like that, and then they bring them into policy decisions, and eventually into law. But they're often they're not often even in law. They're just recommendations that have no legal basis. But people, sheep got a sheep, and they all think they're going to go to prison if they don't do these things and so on like that. Yeah. So again, we're fine. We'll be okay. I can feel it. I can feel it. We're going to be fine no matter what. I'm not negative about the future. I'm quite positive. It's just there was a period of adjustment. But ultimately, I know that the right things that we will need for us, people like us, to flourish will happen. It's just that it's very important not to get up. Like I keep saying, stop watching the news. It's like that song by Morrissey, spent the day in bed. The news is there to make your life worse, and they want people to commit suicide after watching the news and reading the papers. Observe, recognize, and get out of it. Go to your hobbies, go to your kids, go to your pets, go to your loved ones, go to your friends. Just get away from that. Just recognize, observe, get out. There are no utopias. There are no grand solutions. And anyone who has, I wrote in my book, Puzzling People, about the utopian psychopath. This concept of this individual or these groups who believe, whether it's the Venus Project or whether it's Bill Gates or lots of them, that they can create a utopian society in their image. This goes right back to the aristocrats. And now it comes out that Prince Charles now wants to create a utopian society. And he gets immediately, the World Economic Forum allows Mr. Tampon to give his presentation. I mean, this is a guy who's never worked a day in his life and has borne into untold millions. But they put his son on the cover of People magazine, and the morons buy it up, and they think, well, they're royals, we have to do what they say, and blah, 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 blah. And so, again, you don't think like that, so you don't have to fall into the trap. You see, what's the real thing with the NPCs and the normies being afraid and not wanting the lockdown to stop is that, unlike people like you and I, they don't understand the concept of watching the world in terms of unfolding agendas like we do. So it hasn't hit us with the same sense of shock. It's become more like, what the fuck? But they don't have their what the fuck moment, because they're sitting at home literally terrified of a virus that kills 0.3% of the population. And you have more chance of being drowned than being killed by coronavirus, regardless of age. And They're all terrified. There's one Irish normie board I was watching it on. A guy was saying, I'm an essential worker. I'm terrified of coming home and killing my kids. I'd be like a murderer of my own family if I bring home COVID and kill them. And this is like this. They see they trust the system, and when they trust the system, they're the easiest to take the system from. You understand? Like, I've done everything the system has taught me to do. Yeah, haven't you? No, we're going to take it from you. Where the rest of us, we know we do what we have to do to survive, knowing that we're dealing with a psychopathic control grid. And at the top, we're dealing with psychopaths who are either insane or the utopian psychopaths who want to rebuild humanity in their image and so on. So, look, I'm charging ahead. I'm not going to change. As soon as this lockdown ends, I'll be out making films again. And, and you do your things too. Don't be, remember, eyes on the prize. Feck 'em if they can't take a joke, keep the song in your heart. And that's it. And incorporate the magic and the magical and the wonderful into your life. Let's make life remarkable, as someone said on one of my open source cult TV videos the other night. Let's make life remarkable. And, instead of seeing this as an appalling thing that you're in the middle of, that's, going to tear your life asunder and make you miserable, see yourself as a hero in a quest, in a battle, in a campaign. And you are on the hero's journey, and the hero will survive and flourish. This is just a challenge along the way, regardless of how old you are, what gender you are, what social demographic you come from, what ethnic group you come from. You are the hero on the hero's journey. And that's when you know that, and you start to understand and read the world in archetypes, well, then you understand that you have a much better chance in winning this game, not just playing it, winning it, than you previously had, because you're aware that you are a symbol within a spiral network of fractaling symbols, and that is determined exclusively by your attitude towards it. And I don't mean that in wishing unicorns and fairies. I mean by saying, this is a challenge, I'm a hero, this is the path, that's the quest, I need this, here are my allies, here are my enemies, let's go. And you will find that not only will the universe open up before you, but it will dance at your feet. I can assure you of that. So thanks for that. If you want to help me out, you can buy a book on the link below. There's also a Patreon, which I'm going to use to make some films if I ever get this bleeding place again. And you look after yourselves. Observe, recognize, detach, and feck 'em if they can't take a joke. Love you all.